everyone, welcome to my channel. It's nice to see you. Today I have an exciting video. I have created my first tarot tag and I thought it would be cool to match up emojis to tarot decks in our collection. So I have chosen 10 emojis and have the prompts listed down below. I have also tagged a bunch of people, but if I have not specifically tagged you, please do it. I would love to see your response. And without further ado, let's hop right in. So the first prompt is the artist palette paint, and that is the deck with your favorite art. And for that, I have chosen the Chromatic Fates. I know we're starting off with a pretty difficult ask or prompt, but I think I have found my solution. And the Chromatic Fates, if you didn't know, is a collaborative art deck, and it features art from different artists. Part of the reason why I collect tarot decks and have tarot decks is because I really enjoy the artwork that all have to offer. But this deck is something pretty special, and it has some of my most favorite depictions ever of a lot of the cards. It makes me appreciate all the different styles of art that is out there nowadays. Like this is vector art here, for example, the King of Swords, and then we have more cartoony work that it looks like maybe it could have been layers of cut out paper almost in a way. And then we have a more digital illustrated type style. So it really makes me happy that I can enjoy different types of styles all available in one deck. And I know that some people have a hard time when a deck is or does feature many artists because their styles can vary differently. This is an example. King of Coins, my most favorite King of Coins. I love him so much. I can just feel him thinking and contemplating and getting ready to take his next step after much thought. I just love him so much. Anyway, as I was saying, this is a deck that was put together by Stephanie Cost. She really, I believe, was the art director for this, and she gathered all the different artists. She helped to give them direction, help bring together this deck, and she really looked for artists who really worked with color or explored color or really knew how to implement color in a very thoughtful way. And from that alone, and knowing how much work that Stephanie put into this, it still feels cohesive to me, even though there are different art styles. And I feel like I have a piece of an art gallery right here with me. It's I don't know how else to convey how awesome and amazing this deck really is. It really sucks me into the artwork. I think my only gripe with this deck is that I wish the cards were bigger, oracle size or even larger. Like, I really want to go deep into this imagery, and sometimes I feel like, especially with the more detailed cards, that a larger card size really could have benefited some of that artwork. Ugh. This Eight of Coins, one of my favorites as well. So it's the color, it's the different art styles, it's how it all came together. It's packaged very beautifully and intentionally. Ooh, Six of Coins, gorgeous. It makes my brain so happy to enjoy so many art styles at once. Even in a spread, I think it works. Because the fact is, each of them have such strong colors, a dedicated color that they were assigned to work with, But part of the cohesion of this deck is all of them have this very small, thin border. And yes, this Ten of Swords, like my favorite as well. So stunning. Anyway, to get back to what I was saying, each one of them has a small, thin little border. The name, yes, it is super tiny, but I think that was chosen to not distract from the artwork. And then it has the artist's name somewhere within that border. And each of the cards features this. So they're framed all the same way, even though they feature very different artwork. And I think it just works. And so that is my favorite deck with my favorite art, Chromatic Fates. The next prompt or emoji is the book emoji, your best tarot book or guidebook. And for this, I have chosen the well-loved 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. And the reason I am choosing this, maybe as you can see, is it is a book that I continually come back to and reference, especially when I am in a space of studying. I think that Rachel did a beautiful job writing complex things, but in a way that's very interesting and very down to earth and very digestible. I think that it is well loved for a reason. It is one of, I think, the originals, and Rachel Pollack herself and her reputation that she has in the tarot community as a scholar and as a lifelong student and studier of the tarot really sets this book apart from all the others out there, in my opinion. I have annotated it, marked it up, underlined things, and I continue to do so. Every time I pull a card for my card of the day, I bring out this book in conjunction with the deck's guidebook and take a peek at it and see what it can give me, what else it can bring out of the card for me. And I think how this book is structured really is favorable to me. She goes over introduction, she discusses patterns and an overview, and she goes into symbols and archetypes and the sequences of things before she gets into the cards. And I think that is highly beneficial. That was one of my favorite parts of the book, is the introductory stuff, which sometimes is not. Sometimes I just want to dive right in and get to the book. I am impatient to get to it, and it doesn't add anything, I feel, when I do read it. It just kind of delays further learning and reading for me. And then the third part is types of readings, how to use the tarot, and what we learn from tarot readings. So I think from beginning to end, this is just a really lovely book and one of my favorites, and one that I still use and reference in my practice. The third emoji is the brain, and the prompt is a deck that makes you deep dive into thought, or is very thought-provoking, makes you sit with it for a while. And I have two decks for this. The first one is the Fountain Tarot. The reason why I chose this deck for the brain prompt is because the way the light plays a huge role in the creation of this deck and the cards. How light can cast a completely different shape or shadow or set of colors based on what it is traveling through. And that really captures my thought and my attention when I use this deck. I find myself staring off into the cards because at first what I noticed here, for example, about this Queen of Wands is her open stance. But if you take a closer look, you see that the sunflower is right here and the cat companion is here, and she's in some sort of field or desert or something like that, because there are hills or a city or some type of backdrop here, and how the light is hitting her and splaying this way is very full frontal and powerful, and that really evokes the energy of the Queen of Wands. So these cards kind of take my mind in 100 different directions sometimes when I pull a card. The meanings are aren't exactly right in front of your face all the time. And yeah, just the beauty. I mean, the artist did such a great job playing with light and angles and washes of color. I just find that I really get lost in these images, and it brings a deeper thought process and digestion of these images when I pull a card. So that is the Fountain Tarot. The second deck that I have for this prompt is Daydreaming in C2. And I couldn't decide between the Fountain Tarot or Daydreaming in C2 because they bring about thought in a little bit of a different way, whereas the Fountain Tarot, it can be a little bit obscure about what you're looking at. The light kind of washes out or brightens up or shrouds what you're seeing. Daydreaming in C2 is very forward, or more forward in what it is depicting, but through the art of collage, there's a lot of texture and a lot of imagery to look at. And what I guess I am finding about in this moment about myself is that whether the imagery is more minimal or is more loaded with symbolism and texture, I guess busier, I find that if it draws me in, if the image really sucks me in, then I kind of go off in my mind thinking about the meaning of the cards, what it is it's trying to say, what is it that my eyes are drawn to this time around versus the last time. And that reason alone is why I am also setting up my tarot study journal a little bit differently. The different textures of how the artist has compiled these, and in the minors with a very simple element or the cup or the tool feature here, it just is so brilliant to me. There's so much to sink into, and the fact that if you zoom in on one of the things, like this is obviously something of like a wheat or a grass, but when you zoom out with your eyes, it really these little pieces, they come together in a way that just paints a beautiful image. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. I'm a little bit lost for words with just how this really sinks me into the images. And the fact that a lot of these are from magazines and such that depict our world as it is. Yes, it does have historical figures and such in there, but I don't know, this grass could be what you see outside every day, the mountains. Or do you have an orchard nearby? It really pulls you into the here and now, but in a in a very liminal way. It does the best of both of those. It's using familiar imagery, but the way it's arranged really makes it unique and makes me think a lot, as you can tell, because I am rambling on and on about this. So that is Daydreaming in C2. The next prompt is the coffee and or tea, however you see it, emoji, and that is a deck that makes you feel cozy. And for this, I have chosen my Northern Animal Tarot. Oh, goodness. How can you not feel cozy when using this deck? The reason why this is my coziest deck, I feel like, is that it is so friendly. The characters are very emotive. Most of them are smiling, or they feel approachable. They feel wise. You can relate to what's going on. in their card or their scenario, even though they are humanized or anamorphized, however you say that word, animals, you can really connect with them on a deep level. And there's a certain sense of camaraderie there and friendliness that feels cozy. It's also very cute. I love how the artist draws animals in this world. It's just a gorgeous deck. And it gives me good feelings, even with harsher cards. It's still very loving, and it wants to be there for you, and it wants to hold your hand or hug you or make sure that you are okay. It wants you to keep learning and growing and diving deeper in your practice, but it wants you to know that you can do that in a comforting way that feels good to you, that you can take your time, you can sit with a meaning that these animals are going through it too along with you. It makes you feel like you are not alone. And to me, that is the coziest feeling in the world, when you finally feel like you belong somewhere and someone's sitting right next to you. They're there for you to lean on. They're there for you to talk to or to just snuggle up to if you don't have the words. That is what this deck represents to me, and why it is my most coziest deck in my collection. The Northern Animal Tarot. The next emoji is the crossed swords, and that represents a deck that you use for ancestral work. So the deck I use mainly for ancestral work is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And the reason why I have chosen this as my ancestral deck is it is the main one that I am using right now to connect deeper in ancestral work. And I've had this deck for the longest time. It is the first deck that I ever got, ever, as far as Oracle or Tarot. And in a way, I have built a family ship with this deck. It has lasted through many deck purges and deck culling and purgatories. Yes, I have had this deck in purgatory before, but every time I pull it back out, it reminds me of its purpose in my collection. It's there for deeper work, and it has a deeper connection for me to explore in the realm of ancestral work. It feels very wise and very knowledgeable. It is not to be taken lightly, just as ancestral work isn't to be taken lightly, because that's your heritage, it's your blood, it's where you come from, it's untying certain knots that have gotten knotted up in the past through your ancestors. It's righting the wrongs, it is forging ahead, it is creating your own path maybe, and trying to strike out and not make the same choices or fall into the same traps perhaps that your ancestors have, and that they're there to guide you through that. It's a way of communicating with them directly through the cards and what they have to say to you. And that is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. The next prompt is the crystal emoji, and it is your most favorite gilding on a deck. And for me, that is Zeke's Arcana. And it's not just the fact that it is the brightest pink I have probably ever seen on a deck, but I feel like Zeke's really gave the tarot industry permission to choose a bright, crazy color for edging, because I think that the market is very oversaturated with gold and rose gold and matte rose gold, and I don't know, it's something different. It's something different. It matches the deck beautifully. It is sort of like that outlier kind of person that they don't really conform to any kind of box or cliche, or they don't adhere to certain rules of society. That in itself, it makes you stand out. It makes you bolder. It makes you have attention called to yourself. And I don't know, it's just fun. Pink isn't ever really a color that I was ever drawn to. I was a tomboy growing up, so pink was like the exact opposite of what I wanted to like. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to really appreciate all different kinds of colors for different reasons. And this is a strong pink deck that has a lot of quirk to it, and it's not afraid to be who it is, and it's going to tell you about it. The gilding just adds awesomeness to it. So that is my favorite gilded deck. Number 7 is the island, and the prompt is deserted island deck. What one deck, yes, I know I'm throwing another hard wrench at you, one deck you would take with you on a deserted island if you could. And for me, that is the Desert Illuminations, so aptly named, which just happens to line up really nicely for for me. But it has more to do with the fact that I searched high and low for this deck. I really wanted it. It's a unicorn deck of mine, and now that I have it in my collection, I just don't want to be without it ever. So for that reason, this is the one that I would want with me on a deserted island, that I would keep out of all my other ones. As much as that hurts to say, this is the one that I really wouldn't want to be without. It feels like me. It feels a little odd and a little wallflower-ish, but it has a lot of color, and it has aliens in it. I mean, come on. It's just one that I wouldn't want to be without. And I think it would give some comedic relief on a deserted island. I think that it would also be there to help me in whatever way it could on a deserted island. I would have to hide it, I feel like, because it would, you know, paper cardstock is a fire starter, so we wouldn't want that to happen. Oh no. It's just, it matches what a deserted island probably could be like. That, I don't know, you're out and you're stranded in the middle of nowhere, it's hot, you don't know what to do. Just a fun one to take with you. That is the Desert Illuminations for my deserted island prompt. And now the next prompt is the moon emoji, and that is your Wisest deck. And for this prompt, I chose the Home Oracle. I believe that this deck is now out of print. The artwork is so beautiful. But truly, the reason why this is my Wisest deck is because of its guidebook. It is small and mighty. It feels like the smartest person I know wrote it. like a grandparent figure. It's rich in its meaning, and I was very surprised when I got this deck because I truly purchased it for the beautiful artwork, and it was unlike anything that I had at the time, and still. I don't really have a deck exactly like this. This is one that I pull all the time. I could have put it in my cozy category, but this feels like a grandparent figure to me. And let's read the guidebook for trust so you can see what I mean. It is in alphabetical order. I'm not quite sure what language this is. Trust, it says. How can we live a peaceful life without trust? Only when a mind is no longer being manipulated by expectations or desires will life find freedom and start to embrace everything without hesitation. I don't know. It's just, it just feels wise. um, yeah. Let's read about authenticity. Being true to yourself will help you express and convey your feelings. This will reduce your fear, and life will be aware of your suppressed capability. Authenticity will lessen your complexity, and you will find living clear, lucid, and energetic from within. Don't be afraid to show your clarity, although it may cause you pain or insecurities. This is the time to remind yourself that clarity helps you live in truth. Life will continue to grow well under the clear sky, not a cloudy heart. I don't know, it's just so beautiful. I love the meanings, and I fully appreciate the wisdom that it has to offer me. And that is the home oracle that I have now all mixed up every which way. Number 9 is a plain emoji, deck you use when traveling. And the deck that I use the most or go for the most while traveling is my Centennial Borderless Edition. And I reach for this deck when traveling because it is easily replaceable. I can find another copy of this. So if it were to get lost or damaged, I could find another copy easily. And another reason is it has the classic imagery, and I find that when I am out and about and I want to carry a deck with me, that I'm just looking for, or I may not have the opportunity to really sit deep with a deck and mind map and think and journal all the time while traveling. When I'm traveling, I like that straightforward meaning. It's classic. It is the imagery that I know well. It comes in a compact enough package, like the tuck box, and that's it. Yes, the tuck box isn't the most durable, but like I said, this deck is easily replaceable. And that is my travel deck. And the final emoji and prompt is the ribbon. And this signifies the last deck that was gifted to you. And for this, I have the Lillifer Tarot. And I don't have a lot of tarot friends in real life, so I actually end up buying most of my decks myself. This is the case for this deck as well. However, I asked for my partner's thoughts about this deck and whether or not I should get it. I came across an opportunity and found it secondhand for a decent price, and I really have always been drawn to this deck but never took the plunge. I never committed. I feel myself moving into a more minimal space with my tarot decks and the art. And I don't exactly know why that is, but I've been drawn to more minimal style decks where it features a lot of white space. So I asked my partner, I talked to him about it, I debated with him about it, and he was really all for me getting this deck. So in a way, it feels like it was gifted by my partner to me because he so encouraged me to get this deck. And I'm really glad that I did, because it's unlike anything in my collection, really. And I feel like I say that a lot about every deck, and that is truly my goal, is to have decks that feel so different from one another, because it has the most diversity to it, I feel like. When you have a deck that, or a collection that spans so many different things, then you can think of any situation or scenario and you have a deck for that, or a deck fits well for that. Or if you are feeling like you need one type of feeling or vibe, you have that option because you have decks that have a range. And that's what makes having a collection really fun and beautiful, is that none of them are like the others. So that is the last deck that was gifted to me, the Lilifer Tarot. I hope that you have enjoyed this tag. Please, please show me your responses. I'd really like to see what decks you would pick for these emojis. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more tarot content from me. It would really help me out and help my channel out. And until next time, see you around.